Welcome to a new episode of Outside the Panels with your host, Johnny the Machine Hughes.
Welcome everyone to an episode of Outside the Panels. I'm your host, Johnny the Machine Hughes, and I have teased this interview on a couple of pods. So if you've been following over the last week or so, you will know exactly who I'm going to be speaking to. If you don't, well, you're in for an absolute treat. I am talking to one of my favorite current writers at Marvel right now. I'm speaking to the lovely Karla Pacheco. Karla,
Well,
did
now, now I feel terrible for having to reschedule since I was in the middle of the desert, knowing now that you are all hyping it up.
Oh, you know what? When I got the email to say that you were going to do a pod, the grin on my face was from ear to ear. So I have been a fan of yours since Spider-Woman. I'm not going to lie.
So
I might be a bit of a Johnny Come Lately because I know you've done other stuff. In fact,
a lot, honestly.
So hold on. Let me just get this. Let's do the bio bit first.
Okay.
Right? So, DJ, comedy and video game writer, an author. You've written for Marvel with Punisher, Fantastic Four 2099, Gwenpool. For Omnipress, you've written Rick and Morty. And for Dynamite, Betty Page. We've got.
I did all that.
I've run out of fingers, man. All right, okay. And of course, Spider-Woman, which we'll get to in a little while. But I'm here to talk to you about a bit of a new book for you, is it? The X-Men? Whoa, that's pretty good. How did that happen?
It was great. Jordan White emailed me about continuing X-Men Green, which Gary Duggan had been working on. And he was like, hey, so we're continuing X-Men Green. It's about like these teenage eco-terrorists. And I was like, that doesn't sound like anything I would want to do.
Where's the fun in that, right?
And then I went and like was reading it and I was just like, oh, now I get it, which I should have had faith just because Gary is obviously awesome. But like I actually went like, oh, they're all jerks. Of course they wanted me to work on this. It all makes sense now. And especially once I saw that Soren had been hanging out with, in the vicinity of the team, that was basically the kicker for me. I was like,
oh, really?
I was like, can I bring back Soren? And Jordan's like, yeah, sure. I was like, sold. But no, I really love Nature Girl. I remember reading it. I was kind of like me as a kid, like little Karla would have loved this character. And big Karla loves the character too, except I get to appreciate it more on the ultra violence and especially Karla Pacheco writing an X-Men. There's going to be a lot of things blowing up and boats.
Yeah, of course, boats.
Yes, I am actually. I'm broadcasting from outside my boat right now, so we might get some weird noises coming hither and thither.
That's fine. I'm British. They're used to noises from me. Don't worry.
But yeah, so obviously, the first thing I do when I get a hold of X-Men is put them on a boat in little sailor outfits. So and then
why wouldn't you?
And yeah, exactly. I could do whatever I want. It's comics. And Emilio Lesa was just such a good sport about it. When I'm just like, hope you wanted to draw boats and a lot of sea life. And, I'm, trying to explain like, okay, so the harpooning goes like this. But he was such a good sport and, definitely just knocked it out of the park, as did Rochelle on coloring. So
Rochelle Rosenberg, yeah.
Rochelle, yes.
Definitely.
And so yeah, it looks way better than it has any right to, because I'm having way too much fun with it.
So really, all you should have said is watch Jaws, get a bigger boat, and that's it. We're sorted, right? That's it, right? That's how it works.
Pretty
So,
much, yeah.
so how was it then? Because I mean, I've been reading the X-Men since the Hickman verse kicked in, I guess, and it seems quite set tonally. You know what I mean? It's on a nice even plateau. Then I mean this with the greatest of
And
respect.
then they bring in Karla Pacheco.
Then they bring you in, and it's all like grins and jokes and explosions, and as you said, how difficult was it to kind of X-Men your own voracious style?
Well, I mean, like, so I've talked about this before, but I spent one summer long, long ago reading every X-Men from the very first one up until the 90s,
Okay.
like every single X-Men. So I've been a very old school, long time fan of X-Men, but this is the first time I've ever written any of them, and it's a little intimidating because yeah, there is such a incredibly long history with all of them, and even with like these being with Nature Girl and Curse being newer characters or less seen characters up until this point, um it's still you're when you're taking over for such a long history, it's intimidating, but also at the end of the day, like anybody who hires me to write comics obviously should know what they're getting into, and if they don't, that's their fault, not mine. So
fair point. Fair point.
like
I,
yeah, if you're like, hey Karla, you want to write X-Men, I assume you want me to blow some stuff up and have a lot of bad jokes.
Yeah.
Done.
Well, I wouldn't say bad jokes, but
they're pretty bad.
do you find then that the tone your writing's different to the Hickman verse massively? The tone of this book is different. Do you find that being as an online book first allows you that freedom where maybe the hardcore X-Men fans who are into the whole politics of Krakoa are kind of just off to one side and you're just playing in one kind of little sandpit?
I mean, like I always think of anything I'm writing as playing in my own little sand pit. It's like it's I mean, to me the beauty of comics is that we all get to play with each other's toys, and so there might be something that I come up with, like a character or a theme, like in some of the stuff that we did in Spider-Woman, that someone else will take in a completely different direction down the line. And so I feel like you can't go into comics expecting to, I don't know,
conform to someone else's idea.
I was gonna say, like, you can't be possessive with it.
See, this is why I don't write.
And it's like, I feel great pride and great sense of ownership in the stuff that I've created, but I don't feel like, like that's not where the character ends, that's not where the story ends. I'm telling a little section of the story, for however many issues that I do, and then someone else will take over, and then they'll continue it in their voice. And to me, I think of that as a strength of comics is, they're comics. Don't tell them. There are some comics writers, I love them as people, but this style just isn't my way.
There's a guy I interviewed a little while ago, and I will swear to God, he is the nicest guy in comic books. But every time I read his stuff, he sets up the punchline. Brilliant. No, he sets up the story. Set up everything's fine, but the punchline, he just doesn't land. It's like, oh my God, how did you miss? The setup was so brilliant. But he's the nicest guy.
Now people are gonna like start going back through all the previous issues.
If you want to check out if you want to check out Comic Crusaders for my reviews, I'm sure if you look really closely at someone's, I don't know, any issues in the 50s, it might give you a hint on that one.
I mean, there are so many awesome people in comics, and we all have completely different styles. And I think that's, and I think sometimes it's hard for readers because their favorite version of a character isn't always the one that's being
You
written.
know what? You are absolutely spot on with that. Absolutely, totally agree. I
And
loved the Dennis Hopeless Spider-Man run, Spider-Woman run. I thought that was great. I loved that. You
and
know.
then I came along.
Well, then we'll talk about Spider-Woman in a little bit. But you did something completely different for it, and that was great for a different reason. So we'll come
Yeah.
back to that.
But
So
it's
you,
a, but yeah, it's. I mean, I feel like you have to kind of, like, as a reader, I mean, as writers and creators, we're readers as well.
yeah.
And so I've got my favorite version of Spider-Woman or X-Men. It's like, and that won't always be the one that's currently out. And I
Great.
think what's fun about the, excuse me, what's fun about the Unlimited and the online X-Men is, where I'm having fun with that is just taking advantage of the vertical format. Because I can come up with different, ways, and Emilio can come up with different ways to incorporate, that scroll down and really take advantage of that format. And so I feel like it kind of gives us a little permission to do stuff that's a little bit different,
Cool.
and to play with it. And I mean, I think I always say, like, if you don't like something I do, that's fine. It's totally allowed. We're just playing, it's just, we're doing this. And and the next time someone else takes it over, you might like that better. It's always allowed.
So let me ask you a quick question before we dive into the book, because we are going to look at the book. You say you've been reading X-Men from issue 1 all the way forward to the 90s. Who's your favorite X-Men?
Yeah, I mean, I'm super basic, so Wolverine.
Everyone says, what about Scott? All right, okay, here's another one then. I'll throw this one. Should Scott be with Jean or with the White Queen?
Oh, Jean. Yeah, that's 100%. Like, I told you, I'm basic. I'm basic. I'm also
Wolverine shouldn't be with Jean. Is that what you're saying?
I feel like he should always be pining, but he should not be with her.
All right, okay, fair enough.
But but again, and that's me going off the really old school versions.
Yeah,
like, I know, like
fine.
now it's like, it's awesome because we got all the
yes, the ins and outs, of the mutant world, and who loves who, and
quite literally.
Yes.
So so now people are just going nuts with it. But yeah, for me, I was always just old school. I always felt like Cyclops got a bad rap.
Agreed.
Because somebody's got to, like, order toilet paper and pay the bills so that the danger room can keep running. Scott has, like, really good spreadsheets. Like, he's an Excel master. And so people, always think of him as this big stick in the mud, and he's preventing Jean from being with Wolverine. It's like, no, he's like, Jean's got kind of a pretty messed up, life, and so it's
Jean has her own choice,
and so it's like having, like, the kind of stable, principal guy. Like, sometimes that's that's
cool.
that's legit.
That's legit. Right, let's bring up the speed. And boom, there we go. Out now. There you go. It is the X-Men Unlimited, X-Men Green, number 29. It's online as we speak. Saurian at the back here. So do you think, because this isn't the first time a bad guy's joined, like, a team.
Right.
If you remember, Clayface joined Batman's detective group for a while. Darkseid was in Justice League Odyssey for a bit. Do you think that having a bad guy on the team helps with the team dynamic?
Oh, for sure. And I mean, it's mostly just that I love Sauron so much.
Is he usually hitting the noses on you for that? Is that what's going on there? Is that right?
Yeah. In his little sailor suit. Yeah, I was like, can I put like, I'm sitting in the first script, and I'm just like, also, can I put the team in little sailor suits, including the dog? And
I like the dog suit.
The editors were like, yes. I was like, yeah. But no, I mean, I feel actually like with X-Men, like, there's tons and tons of like Mutant Brotherhood or
Mm-hmm.
darker characters, Black Hat characters that went more gray hat, that went white hat, then went gray hat again.
Well, I mean, Krakoa's like that all over at the moment, isn't it? The council's a mix
Yeah,
of there's only, I suppose, there's only Sabretooth that's been the real badass
yeah, and so I
recently.
mean, so honestly, it's like like with Nature Girl and Curse, and now Sauron teaming up with them, like they were the ones that, like, despite all the like questionable people that are currently running around Krakoa right now, they got kicked out of the garden. They
Yeah,
they kind of went bad, and so in their minds, they're just, no one else is taking care of business, so they
yeah.
will.
Hmm.
And
Yeah,
so, but they are definitely a little ethically questionable right now. So so that of course makes it more fun with me. So this right
yeah.
here is a boat joke, where they have been informed that they're getting ready to steal a boat,
Mm-hmm.
and marinas such as mine, such as I'm in right now,
Mm-hmm.
are usually locked. And so that's where the crusty old sailor was like, this is a private marina. You kids supposed to be here. And they're like, it's fine. We're with the Far From Workin', which I think I'm literally looking at the Far From Workin' over there. And and then on the next panel, like Curse is like, wow, that was great mind control you did. And
Yeah.
he's like, yeah, go on, go on. Oh, Houseboat, go on. It's like, oh, that was great mind control. And he's like, it wasn't mind control. There's always a Far From Working.
I'm not going to go too far into the book because I want people to go and check it out. So
Yeah, yeah,
we're
yeah.
going
For
we're
sure.
going to stop we're going to stop there. I will say the artist is absolutely lovely, clean lines.
Oh,
Works really well
Emilio.
digitally. Yeah. So how was that
Emilio.
working? Yeah.
Oh,
How was
it's
that
it's
working?
well, I mean, I don't think they're drawing it too much differently than, like, I mean, even when working on Spider Woman, it was about half traditional, half digital with
Hmm.
PETA. And I think a lot of the artists nowadays, like, even if it's like, I believe like a lot of Emilio's sketches and layouts
Uh-huh.
were either traditional or close to.
Yeah.
So, so yeah, I mean, I think everybody's kind of using all of the tools
Yeah.
at their disposal nowadays. So,
So how is it communicating with different artists? Because obviously you know what you want, you know the
oh
humor
no,
element. The humor element's such a huge part of what you do.
it's
How do you
a.
make sure they land the visual aspect of the joke that you're trying to tell?
I mean, for me, if there's a visual that I know I need
Uh huh.
for a joke, I definitely make sure that that's there. But I tend to work not not always full Marvel style, but very
Ah.
close to, before I even start working with an artist, I go in and
Uh-huh.
ask what they want to draw.
Okay.
Um,
I don't think you
like,
said boat.
yeah, I was like, well, you didn't not say boats, so here's a bunch of boats. Um, like, if I mean, so that's like, I ask what they want to draw, what they definitely don't want to draw.
Uh-huh.
I ask, how do they want to do like fight scenes? Like, do
Hmm.
they like Peta on Spider Woman is a martial arts instructor on his own.
Right.
So I would normally build the stories around fight scenes that he told me he wanted to do.
Uh-huh.
With Emilio, obviously we don't expect every single artist that I work with to be a trained
Hmm.
martial arts instructor. I actually sent him video, like reference video of my boyfriend is a stuntman.
All right. Okay. Has he been in anything that I've seen?
His joke for that is always, not if I did my job right.
Of course, of course. Who did I speak to? I spoke to, I can't remember her name. I can't remember her name. It was one of the stunt people for Justice League, the
Oh, okay. Oh, cool.
Batman versus Superman, and then Wonder Woman, and then she's also been on Agents of Shield. That was a while ago. So yeah, fair point. It's a fair point. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, but it's a but yeah, he was in like probably the most notables were he was in Public Enemies and Harold and Kumar, the Christmas one.
Okay.
he actually
Cool.
he actually got like he is a SAG nominated stuntman, so
All right.
and he teaches and stuff. But so for the fight scene, there's a fight scene in this first issue of X-Men Green here, this
Mhm.
issue 29, that the fight scene, I was like, okay, Nature Girl, she's got one antler's been knocked off,
Mhm.
and she's facing off with the boat captain. So now what does she do? And so
Yeah. Yeah.
my boyfriend's just like flipping through, like he's like, okay, so she's looking over there, he's looking over there, like she dives for it, he goes this way, she spins around, then impales him on the mast. And I was like, perfect, thanks.
Good.
Hey,
Yeah.
Emilio, this is what it looks like. Take whichever. This is what they're doing. Take whichever moments of this that you like. And
Yeah.
but I've been doing that kind of from the beginning, where being really familiar with stunts, being familiar
Mhm.
with a lot of martial arts movies, old western stuff like that. I obviously I'm getting, I guess, a bit of a reputation for action and fights. Just a
Well,
little one.
well, see, I'm not sure if I agree with that one actually. In a good way. In a good way. So I
I mean,
mean,
it's definitely
comics come with action eventually, anyway, right?
yeah, but that's where it's like you want to always like. I remember somebody once talking about, like, no matter how much people talk about all the action comics, it's just this guy punches this guy and this guy punches that guy, and I was like,
Uh-huh.
no, 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 no.
Yeah.
I always want to make sure that it's not just punch and punch, unless it's dinosaurs, and then just a good dinosaur punch is always acceptable. But
Yeah.
uh, no, I always try to come up with stuff and work with the artist to come up with stuff that will be really visually interesting. Honestly, like half the time I tend to have to try, like, people are trying to get me to slow down, and actually,
Yeah.
like, they're like, I was like, there's nothing exploding on this page. And they're like, it doesn't have to. I was like, are you sure? Because I can get something to explode. Like,
No.
I'm sure I can come up with something. But um
I like the quiet issues. I like the
I mean,
quiet issues.
the quiet issues are fun. Even in the quiet issues, I always want to make sure that, like, I've always been really obsessive about the page turn. Like,
I've heard this a lot recently.
I I always want to make sure that, like, it doesn't have to be a cliffhanger on every page, but I feel like you should be
Wanting to turn the page.
yeah, you
Carry on.
should be
Yeah.
compelled to turn the page. That's the entire
Mm.
point. And that's also one of the strengths of comics is that you have that moment. Like, you don't get that. You can kind of get that in prose books, and obviously in movies, you're
Mhm.
wanting to watch to see what happens next. But with comics, you've got it really visually clear there. And I think that's really
Yeah.
fun to write for. So that's why doing this on the Unlimited, it's kind of like, ooh, get to come up with a whole new
Yeah.
way to use the format. And that's always, I mean, like, I've joked that if I ever say I'm working on a novel, that's how you know that, like, that's the code word for I've been kidnapped. Um, it's like, oh,
mine is get me a veggie pizza.
yeah. But yeah, so my joke is always like, it's like, no, I'm not a want to write a novel
Yeah.
type of person. I love writing comics, and so that's where it's fun is, with traditional comics, working on that page turn with
Cool.
with the online comics, with the, it's like working for
The
that
scroll.
scroll.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what I think is cool about the scroll down is that you can have visual elements that come up, and go back down. And so it all works together. I think that's really cool. But obviously, a lot of these are intended to eventually hit print. And so I have to kind of keep that in mind too. And
Yeah.
so,
It's tricky because I see a lot, because I review a lot of comic books for Comic Crusaders. I see a lot of digital comics, and they are just the paper copy on screen, and sometimes the splash pages don't work so well because
right. Yeah.
and you're like, oh man, now I've got to try and follow where the pattern and if
Yeah.
I
Where
see
was this supposed to
yeah
go?
yeah
Yeah.
where's the dialogue gone,
Yeah.
So if I see that too often, I'm like, right, next, and I kind of leaves
Well, I
past
mean,
that bit. That's probably the plot point that I missed when I complain about a book saying this hasn't happened. Someone's like, machine, it's in the splash page. I'm like, oh.
I think it was funny because we had this huge splash page in the beginning of the last Spider-Woman, and so it was early on, and so people were like posting preview pages, and I was like, this isn't going to make any like, okay, so preview page 3 and preview page 4, like those are next to each other. They're not, next, so it's just like, try to read those together if you can. But
Yeah,
I mean, obviously
possible.
digitizing older comics is, a huge challenge just because they weren't made to be read online. And so, luckily there are a lot of people working pretty hard, like, like at Marvel Unlimited.
Yeah.
Hi, boss. Who are working pretty hard to remedy that.
Yeah,
And
it's a good shout. It's a good shout. Right, we'll take a quick break. As we're talking Marvel, it seems only fair that we run the advert for the No Price podcast, which has everything Marvel. So here's the ad. Check us out. There you go. No Price podcast for everything Marvel, DC Plus, and MCU, all thrown into the mix. Drops alternate Tuesdays. There you go. Cool. Right. I can't have you on the show without talking about Spider-Woman. I'm really, 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 really sorry. So I mentioned earlier that you did something that was different to, I suppose, the popular Dennis Hopeless run. You had I want to say the cojones, or the balls, or the bravery, or
the ovaries,
the craziness to actually try and make sense of Jessica Drew's origin. Took 12 issues to get there, but you did it. So what on earth made you think to yourself, you know what we're going to do? We're going to do it over, and we're going to do it right.
Well, I mean, like when I was approached about bringing Spider-Woman back, like obviously, like Dennis had done some, Dennis and Javier did great work with telling a more, emotional, personal Jessica Drew story.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to blow stuff up.
Fair enough.
So,
can't really argue that, can I?
Yeah, and but I wanted to blow stuff up, both literally and figuratively. But I didn't want to, like, I feel like canon can kill. Like if you're too dedicated to canon,
all right, okay.
Like if you're too slavish to it, it can get in the way of just telling a really good story. But I also don't want to just like toss everything out that has come before me, because that's also comics, and like that's why people are here, it's like because they know things about these characters. What I was
so the relationship between Jess and Roger, that must have been a hard choice for you then, because you're saying you don't want to be stuck to the past continuity and you don't want to throw everything out.
Right.
But they broke up. It broke my heart. I was like, I was like, they're my favorite couple in comic books.
Well, there were some people who are very unhappy with me about that, and some people who are very pleased with me about that. So I'll officially have no comment. But
all right, fair enough. We'll talk after the show then. The other thing that kind of came out of that whole breakup thing was, should Carol and Jess be together? And for a while, because about the same time Carol broke up with Rhodey.
Oh yeah, everyone was
like two and two makes like 7.
It's
So-
but then Lindsay McCabe suddenly makes her triumphant return, and
Yeah.
so
Is that where we? Oh, okay. All right.
I may have had my inclinations, but it's there's stuff that
Is
we'll see where the story goes someday, whether or not I'm
Yeah.
ever involved with it again. But it was but yeah, I mean,
So
so
they've got a great relationship, haven't they? Carol, let's be honest,
Oh,
Carol
yeah.
and Jess have got a great, Jess was the hero that dragged Carol out of the bay after Rogue attacked her way back when in Avengers.
oh yeah, the very first
10.
appearance, yeah.
So, and that's
Um,
alluded to in your bit, in your story, where
Yeah,
several
yeah.
times over.
And that's so what I wanted to do was build on her origins, like quite literally. Like
Mhm.
I was taking I took my foundation as Brian Michael Bendis's Spider-Woman
Good job.
origins,
Yeah,
because that
good
was
call.
that was my first introduction to Spider-Woman, reading that, and
Well,
Avengers.
I predate you a little bit. Sorry.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, I
I've got
just
this-
meant like when it's like I mean, it wasn't the first time I ever knew of her, but it was the
Mhm.
first time I was reading Spider-Woman
I know,
for
I
itself,
know.
and so I really liked her from Avengers, and I liked Origins, and I thought it was really clever what he did with that, of how Spider-Woman Origins kind of retconned a
Several
bit of the
times.
original Jessica Drew Origins, but I thought it was really clever how he did
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to just keep building off that. I thought there was a really fun story to tell within that, and I was like, well, I'm not going to bring her dad back, like
No.
that'd be the cheap shot that everyone will
Yeah.
expect. I'm going to make her mom a murder clone.
I was like, why not? Makes sense, right?
It's
Yeah.
comics.
Well, you haven't met my mum. She could be a murder clone.
But no, I thought it was. I mean, when I was approached about doing the book, they wanted to take the story darker. They wanted to take it big, over the top action, and I was like, yeah, I can do all of that.
Yeah, cool. Can I ask you a question then about working for Marvel, if I may be so bold? There's a lot of writers, and there's a lot of good writers at the moment at Marvel that live on the humor that they bring to a book. So there's yourself, of course. You've got Kelly Thompson, who's absolutely, you know what, Captain Marvel has to be the most consistent book out
Oh
there.
yeah, for sure,
Absolutely.
for sure.
Whether you like Captain Marvel or whether you don't, it is consistently one of the best books out there.
Sure.
And you've got like Jed McKay, who's recently closed off his Black Cat run, and now he's on Strange with Clear. Is there I sometimes feel, being on the outside looking in, that there's some sort of rule or kind of guidance from Marvel that you've got to bring the funny. Because there's a chunk of, there's a load of characters like the Guardians of the Galaxy. You've got Spider-Man, who's always being funny, but then the whole host of other writers are now bringing the funny in. Is that kind of to match the?
Honestly, I think it's just like I think everything in comics goes in cycles. Like obviously,
cool.
I think we had our super dark period where everything was very serious. Like even
I am vengeance.
Even if you're doing like Spider-Man or something that's supposed to be light, it's like
of course
dark.
the Clone Saga and all the Metamorphosis Peter went through.
And I think and there's a place for that, just like there's a place for the comedy. And so I think obviously there's going to be cycles that go as editorial changes, as editorial is obviously going to have an influence on the type of people that they're seeking out to work. Like 10 years ago, I don't think I would have been getting hired at Marvel.
You think?
Karla, I don't know. I hadn't even tried yet.
10 years ago, I think you would have been a breath of fresh air. I think you would have stood out against a cloud of.
We still had like Dan Slott doing amazing stuff 10 years ago, or Christopher Hastings. I think Zdarsky was probably puttering around at some point.
Zdarsky's killing it. He's killing it on Daredevil.
He's killing me.
He's going.
I know.
I will say that I had an interview with one of your friends last week, Ibrahim Mustafa.
Oh,
Who's,
he's fantastic.
he is, and I've picked up his Doctor Strange book as an advanced review, so that'll be coming out. He says you're one of the funniest people on the planet.
I'm gonna yell at him for that.
Don't worry, I'm not gonna make you tell a joke.
uh,
So
but no, I think it's just it's cyclical, right?
yeah, it's a good shout.
It's like,
Good shout.
and some of that's based on like what the readers want at the time, like the
Yeah.
point of view. Like
Yeah.
right now, obviously, I think people probably need to
Oh,
laugh a
appreciate
little
the
more
humor.
than they
Yeah,
need to
yeah,
cry. Like we got
yeah.
plenty of that in the news, so
Agreed that.
having
Totally
but I think what's like all the people that you've mentioned, like, and hopefully myself,
agreed. You
I
included
think
in that.
I think the difference between us being funny is that there's always this really human character based core to it.
Mhm.
So like the jokes come natural. Like we're not telling a story to tell the jokes. I mean,
Yeah.
sometimes I do, but we're not telling the story to tell the joke. We're telling the story and letting the jokes come naturally. And
Perfect.
I think that's the difference, is that people are seeking that out more.
Mhm.
And and we've just got a really good crop of
Good.
really really funny, really talented heart. Like I always I like the thing I've talked about with Chip before is that we only tell the jokes so that when we rip your heart out, it hurts worse.
Well,
Uh,
I'm a big thanks. I'm a big believer in that the creator has to match the character, or vice versa, right? So Kelly Thompson's great on Captain Marvel. She's great on Black Widow. She's part of the Spider-Man Beyond stuff,
Mhm.
and I hate that.
Oh,
It's like, oh, more clone. I remember the first time, but and that's kind of the same sort of thing. I mean, I've never, I mean, I like the Black Cat, but she's never been like my favorite character, you know. But
mm.
then Jed McKay gets on it, and it's like, wow, this is the most light-hearted, fun banter comic. You pick it up to smile. You don't pick it up because, as you said, you don't want all the gravitas and stuff. So I get it, and I think there's a lot of media out there. Like you've worked on Rick and Morty, for example. There's a whole like animation style that's aimed at adults
Yeah.
that bring
Well,
the
I mean,
funny,
I
and then
mean,
that can carry over into different aspects.
well, I think that's it. I came from a comedy background,
Yeah.
and so did Chip Zdarsky. Like both of us, like came
Can you?
from.
You can't tell. Daredevil doesn't have a funny bone in it at all.
I know, but that's the thing. People are always surprised when comedy people can do drama, and it's much the same with acting. It's
Okay.
when people are like shocked, like Robin Williams, amazing dramatic actor, like Jim Carrey can do all this stuff. It's like y'all don't realize comedy's way harder than drama. Like
Yeah.
drama's easy. It's easy to make you cry, but doing like making people laugh consistently, that's like I do, like I sweat over my jokes. Like
Yeah.
those 4-page Rick and Morty stories, like even though they're just like tiny little, goofy stories, like I'm putting a lot of effort into like
Yeah.
how to, how to make
Set
those work.
Cool.
And so it's like I've always taken comedy really, I started out
You're gonna say
comedy
something.
writing.
You're gonna say something oxymoronic, like I take comedy seriously.
Oh no, I do. I am totally pedantic and unfunny about comedy. Like if you ever want to see me like at a convention, if you ever want to see my face go like just somebody once was just like, yeah, I just like comedy blah 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 blah, and I was just like, and someone like across the bar is like, what happened? I was like, they're talking about comedy and they don't know what they're talking about.
Bless them. So bad news is, of course, that Spider-Woman has been 86th for a little bit. Is she coming back?
It's taking a break. Well, she will be joining the new Avengers, I believe, in the fall. So that's going to be pretty exciting. So
you involved with that, or are
nope.
you kind of
not yet, at least. Who knows? Like what like with comics, like everything can change so quickly, day to day to day.
So she's joining New Avengers. Who's going to be that? Is that Aaron?
It's,
Just Aaron?
it was just no, I can't remember.
Okay.
Like we
We'll
can fill
Google
it
it.
in later.
Yeah. We'll edit that bit in.
Yeah, just put up like a big like
Yeah.
1950s redacted. New Avengers will feature.
So other styles to think about. One of the books that I see quite regularly, and I don't review that often, is the Betty Page book from Dynamite. And the reason why I don't review it, it's not that I don't think the people involved are terrible or anything like that. I don't think the book's terrible. I just think that the selling point of Betty Page is cheesecake. And when I read the book, there's not a lot of cheesecake in it. So I'm thinking, as a writer, how do you manage to kind of still stay true to the character of Betty Page without having to kowtow to fanboys, or fangirls, even fan people? There you go.
No.
Perception of what the character should look like. Because I mean, the Betty character from The Rocketeer is more Betty Page than Betty Page.
Yeah. It's I mean, like I was, I was in high school in the mid 90s when Betty Page actually had like a pretty big resurgence in popularity. Like
it was a movie, I think. It was a movie.
I had the bangs, I had the haircut, so I was rocking that.
That's why I got my ponytail in, because you don't want to see.
Oh, dude, I've been out in the desert for like 3 weeks, so everything is like so matted.
Well, you live on a boat. You can just dive in and get a bath anytime you want.
Yeah, I mean, I might have to fight off a seal or something, but sure, why not? It's also it's still, as you can see in my Michelin Man jacket here. It's actually I spend I spend winters in Arizona with the stuntman, and then I camped my way back up over the past couple weeks back up to Washington for the spring and summer, and it's like, oh no, it's freezing cold. Like we had to reschedule because it was storming so hard on the boat that I did not have internet. So that was and it was just too miserable to try to leave it. So
no, it's fine. I appreciate you making the time again.
But yeah, so this is I'm still pretty scraggly. But yeah, with Betty Page, it's I was a real big fan of hers, and for me it was really I wanted to make sure I was treating Betty the person with the same amount of respect as Betty the pinup icon.
Yeah.
Even though obviously it's like I just made it a goofy murder mystery on an island. I was trying to kind of like just take a divergence into like what would have happened if Betty had managed to get like some little level of stardom. So I was just kind of like, let's imagine that she went this way, and things aren't easy, but we can still kind of have like a fun little adventure. And for me, everything is always either a murder mystery or a heist. So
she's got to be kidnapped at least once in issue, right?
yeah. And the elephants. Vincenzo was super excited about drawing multiple elephants, but he did a great job. I was like, how many elephants can we get into every issue of this?
Oh, wait a second. I know
little 5-issue series that I did.
I know this joke. How many elephants can you get into a car? One in the front seat, one in the passenger seat, 2 in the back, and 1 in the trunk.
Yeah.
That's the face you pull when comedy. Okay, thanks, mate. Cheers for that. All right, okay. Back to the X-Men. I don't know if this has been revealed yet, but I've got the copy of X-Men Green 30. You're on a boat, right? You're at water. You're gonna get sooner or later. This dude's going to have to pop up at some point, right?
Of course, Namor is there.
Of course he is. Now, this book's not out yet, so I'm not going to show anything about it. I'm going to keep it there just to know that I've got it, and then anyone who wants it has to go and get it off Marvel Unlimited. Fair enough, innit? Really?
But
how much fun was it working writing for Namor?
Oh, it's fun because he's the ultimate jerk, and so when I'm doing, like a team full of jerks with the ultimate jerk, who's very self-righteous about it. Like, I think that the thing about our little X-Men Green team is they think that they kind of know that they're not doing the right thing, but they feel like they need to. It's like no one else is doing it. We need to take charge. And do this as best we can, even if it's just killing a bunch of people on a boat. Namor is like, you guys are kind of screwing up like massively.
Yeah. If you want to do it, this is how you do it.
yeah. It's kind of like he's like, it's like I'm maybe not like, I wouldn't normally hate what you're doing, but you're gonna bring attention down on me. I don't need this. And kind of basically like, we're not doing this, and then of course they get in a fight because it's a Pacheco comic.
that's a comic thing. Oh, really cool. All right, there you go, Karla. It's been an absolute blast. Thank you very much for rescheduling.
Thank you so much for having me on.
You are more than welcome. If you're interested in Marvel Unlimited, there is the link on the screen. There is an app. I'll let you know a secret, guys. It's worldwide, so wherever you are, you will be able to pick this app up. All right, it's not like DC Universe, it only works in one country. Not that I'm bitter or twisted about that.
And also, you can also get all caught up on Spider-Woman on Marvel Unlimited now too. So
don't need to. I've got all the floppies. Sorry. What can I say? I'm a super geek. My wife bought me for my birthday last year. There you go.
Oh, very nice. Very nice.
Cool. So yeah, I'm a super Spider-Woman nerd from the 70s.
I'm glad that you enjoyed our little diversion for the past 2 years. That we had fun with her.
There's been some absolute stellar issues. I'm not gonna lie. The thing that threw me when I heard about the cancellation, the thing that knocked me off so much, is the penultimate issue when the Iraq 9 are forming. What a fun issue that! I absolutely laughed my way through that. And then the next issue was like, yeah, this is the last one. And I was like, sons of a bitch.
We just met the anti-Iraq 9.
I was like, what? And just a gag about, well, the brothers, is that this? Is it that? And I'm like, someone mentioned the Brothers Grimm have been around for God knows. I was like, you know what? They have. I've got the first appearance. It's over there. It was such a fun issue. It's kind of, this is what I like about you do this well, and I think Kelly Thompson does it for Captain Marvel's. With the end of an arc, there'll be like a nice sedate issue with maybe a couple of things in which lead into the next arc. And I just, for me, the Jessica Drew that you write is funny. She has a lot going on, bless her cotton socks. And that anti-Iraq 9 was just so fun to read. I don't know how I can say it other than that. The fight after that.
We had so much fun with that one, and it's like, I don't know if you caught it. Our entire thing with that the penultimate issue 20 was, it was the one issue where there were no fights. Like, you didn't see anyone fight, nothing exploded. There were several scenes where we'd give you like the lead up, like, oh, something big's about to happen, and then beep beep. Yeah. And so we had way too much fun with that one.
Yeah, that was a good episode. That was good.
We enjoyed it.
Love that. So check out Marvel Unlimited for, as we said, X-Men Green. The whole run of Spider-Woman's on there. In fact, you'll probably find the old run from the 70s on there as well if you look hard enough. Karla, it's been a blast. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me on.
You are more than welcome. Don't forget to check out the UCPN for all your favourite podcasts, including, of course, you saw the ad earlier, No Price Podcast. And don't forget to check out the Old Timers Comic Book Show. They've recently talked about Spider-Woman and her first appearance way back when in Marvel Spotlight. There you go. What's here? We're keeping it all spidery. Karla, thanks again. I've been your host, Johnny Machine Hughes. And as always, adios.
Visit undercovercapes.com for the latest and greatest podcasts via the Undercover Capes Podcast Network. Also visit our parent company website, comiccrusaders.shop, all about comic pop culture.